Beavers. Why does it always have to be beavers? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Hundreds of Beavers, the newest film from director Mike Cheslik. So Hundreds of Beavers is inspired by or homage to the 20s and 30s silent films, as well as Looney Tunes in a lot of respects. It tells the story of a character named Gene, who's played by Ryland, Brickson, Tews, who is an individual that owned an apple farm that was very much creating alcoholic apple drinks and stuff like that. His place of business goes up in flames, and he becomes a desolate individual who ends up trying to win the heart of this woman, of this guy who was a fur trapper, and then in the process of everything, or a merchant, in the process of everything, he ends up getting into this kind of crazy scenario of trying to trap beavers as well as trying to trap other creatures for food. And in very much Looney Tunes fashion, things do not go very, very well. The beavers are very much doing things that might in fact affect the world around him. And it basically becomes this crazy, wacky adventure about this character trying to survive, trying to get married or fall in love with somebody, as well as fighting off beavers after beavers after beavers. So one of the reasons I have heard of this film is because it premiered at film festivals like Fantastic Fest, as well as I have a couple friends on YouTube that watch this and highly recommended it. It's a film I didn't know much about, but it's also a movie that from the trailers looked really interesting because, once again, if you remember anything, if you've ever seen a film from the 20s and 30s, there is a special quality about these types of movies. There is a very kind of do-it-yourself type nature to it. There's a very what I would call low quality. What I mean by that is everything is not necessarily well put together when it comes to the effects and when it comes to the visuals and stuff like that, but there's a heart to the matter, to be fairly honest. And I heard that about this film. I heard it really does a nice job of that homage feeling of just putting it out there in the open and being its own thing and doing something really unique. So I was really intrigued by wanting to watch this movie, and here it is now premiering on video on demand and stuff like that on streaming services. And so for my honest review of this movie, I absolutely freaking love this movie. It is very, very weird. It is very offbeat. It definitely tries to be as low budgety as it can be. It definitely is a film that has a lot of passion into it, and it is one of the wackiest, strangest films I've seen in quite a while. Now, that's not a bad thing if you're like me, who enjoys the wacky, strange stuff in the world of movie making and whatnot. This is a film that really takes his budget seriously, really uses it to full effect, but also makes it feel like it's done and shot on a very low quality style filmmaking, where it feels like a college project or something like that. And that's the charm of it. This is a movie where you have literally one character who is not the smartest person in the world. He meets a few characters along the way, but his drive to take down these animals and creatures causes strife in his world, and it's really, really funny to watch because some things pass him by that would actually help him, but he's not smart enough to realize that. And that's what makes this character that Ryland Brickson's playing really, really fun and fascinating, because it's really silly and over the top and dumb, but it's also just you kind of go along with the feel of it and stuff like that. And I really appreciate it. I really love what the woman that he loves, and how their story plays out, and how the main merchant guy is the father of this young girl, and how they lean into the Mel Brooks style comedy or the Monty Python comedy, where there's something kind of off kilter about what he's doing. For instance, he keeps the young woman who's in love with the Gene character behind a velvet rope. And then they do some other crazy stuff, like a pole dancing sequence. It's really, really funny stuff. It really is. But it also leads into what makes this movie so charming, and how you can tell that they really go deep into the camp when it comes to how 20s and 30s films were made. And that's the use of beaver costumes and wolf costumes and really noticeable costumes when it comes to the creatures. Now, this is a movie that's not very subtle when it tries to portray what these creatures are. Well, once again, it's very much leaning into that very much Looney Tunes, Monty Python / 20s and 30s silent film era, where they had to be inventive with what they were doing. And the creatures, the characters, the horses, the beavers, they're all people in suits. They all walk around like people in suits. There's a point where the horse literally has a face of a man, and it is really, really funny. And the fact that they really only had like 6 costumes for each type of animal really shows they have to be inventive, and they have to, like, you know, use modern technology where they have to put characters upon characters upon characters to fill out all hundreds of beavers or whatever they needed to do. But it's really inventive. It's really fun and really entertaining. Like, you know, the level of like insanity and craziness when it comes to the thought process behind Gene and what he's trying to do with the traps, how he like thinks it out and stuff like that on a piece of paper. It looks like a child's drawing. And then you see, like, there's so many weird and wacky things in here. It's really difficult to get everything into this review. But there's moments where, like, you know, he'll imagine, like, beavers on a toilet, or beavers, they're really attracted by poop and castor oil and stuff like that. That's what this movie's trying to do. It's trying to be just a very silly, over-the-top, insane, zany type of film. It just, the way this character of Gene imagines things and the way that the stories play out and how the inventiveness of the traps for the beavers or the wolves or anything of that nature really starts to show as the movie moves along. There's like a windmill trap, and there's, you know, ice trap and stuff like that. And there's a point where a bunch of raccoons are eating, you know, rabbits, and the rabbits fall on these spikes. And it's a very violent film, by the way, but the rabbits fall on these spikes, and there's so much stuff like that that just makes it really, really funny. And on top of that, it's a really well put together film. Mike Cheslik has put something together that's really unique and really entertaining and really fun. Him and, you know, Ryland, Brickson, Tews is also one of the writers on this film, and you could tell that they found a way to make this film unique in its own right, and they do a very nice job of creating that uniqueness and creating that fun, but also creating that weirdness and strangeness and over the top silliness. You know, there's a point where beavers are creating this like construction device of a building, and where that leads to I won't spoil, but it's, you know, when the Gene character is walking by, and you can just constantly see the structure in the background being built. There's a crane and stuff like that. It's that type of stuff in this film that makes it one of the best films I've seen this year. And I know a lot of people saw this last year, but because this is finally released in this year, I consider it, you know, one of the 2024 releases. But if you really want a very interesting, very unique, very original film, but also weird and kind of crazy and out there, Hundreds of Beavers is definitely that, because it's definitely worth a watch. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes. It does go a little bit too long in some places, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's a film that really tries to have heart. It does it really, really well. And it's probably one of my favorite films of this year, to be fairly honest. I've watched this movie a couple times now, and I find new things every time I watch it. And the way it's being creative and how it's creative is just absolutely fascinating. So, highly recommended. Definitely worth a watch. Going to be on VOD. Definitely check it out. So with that said, that's my take on Mike Cheslik's Hundreds of Beavers, now on VOD. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below, as always. Did you see this movie? Are you interested in seeing this movie now? Tell me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.